want to invest in real estate for passive income, but you don't want to buy rental property or be a landlord? Stay tuned for my next local business spotlight. Hey guys, it's Peggy Yee here with Frankly Realtors, and today on our local business spotlight, I am here with John Rubino from JID Investments. And John is the COO, founder, and co-managing director of JID Investments, which is a private money equity investment and syndication firm. And they provide capital to residential, commercial, and mixed-use real estate sponsors and businesses for their real estate projects. So welcome to the local business spotlight, John. I'm really excited to have you on here. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you ended up getting into the syndication and real estate.
Thanks, Peggy. It's great being on the interview here, and I was looking forward to it all week. I'm excited to talk with you and your listeners. You and I are obviously good friends, and we know a lot about each other. But I've been in real estate for quite a while. I served in the Navy for 20 years. I was a pilot, and back in 2011, I got back to DC in the area, and I had my last set of orders here in the area before I was going to retire in 2017. And so what I did was, I kind of looked around to see what I wanted to do. I thought maybe I'll go into the government contracting world or do something in corporate America. But it kind of got me going on real estate. I enjoyed real estate. I started investing in real estate back in 2005, 2006 when I was stationed in Southern Maryland. I did some active investing. I looked at fix and flips and foreclosures, and I finally got hooked on real estate in home building, new construction. I built 2 new construction homes with a local area builder, did really well. I ended up making some really good profits, and I was like, wow, I love this. I want to keep doing this. I decided at that point, I was about the halfway point in my career in the Navy, and I decided I'm going to stay in the military. But I had some really good friends that were still in real estate, and they were doing real estate. And I kind of talked with them and said, look, I still want to stay involved, maybe not as actively. So I have some money. I'd like to go ahead and invest with you in your businesses. And they said, great, no problem. We set up an arrangement. I was getting about 10% on my money over a 7-year period, and 70% over 7 years was great. Got back from some tours overseas and some tours in different locations, and when I got back to DC and I had this idea to start a company, I said, this seems like a pretty good model. I was doing this passively. I was getting these investment packages. I was learning about real estate. I was doing due diligence. I was kind of getting into it. I said it would be really neat to start a business where I bring in my money and I can help other folks come in as investors to bring in their money. And we invest with these great developers and sponsors that I meet and I met and I know, and we can help them with their projects. So that's kind of where we decided to go. I brought on my accountant, who is my best friend, and he's our CFO. He's down Hilton Head. And he and I together put this model together and this strategy. And I guess it's called syndication. I didn't know it at the time, but now I do. And so for syndication, what we do is we work with developers in real estate, sponsors that have projects, who go out and get bank debt for probably about 50 to 70% of the total money they need for a project. And then they come to a company like us who can help them raise 80 to 90% of the remaining percentage of money they need on a project. And together with some of their money, I bring in my money, my partner brings in his money, and then we go out to a pool of investors that have come on the business and have joined us, friends and family, referrals, people that we've met and who like what we're doing. And together we partner together on each of our projects, bring in capital, fund the deals, and we're brought in as kind of a management piece, a limited partner management piece, where we don't have to be out there every day meeting the general contractor. We don't have to worry about every little dollar on the budget. Now, we do look at that. We do have oversight of that, but we're not directly responsible for that. That's where the developer plays. So that's kind of what we do. And so we've been doing that now since 2013, just went over 7 years with the business. We've had 16 projects that have been fantastic. We've made money on every deal. On 15 of the 16 projects, we've hit or exceeded our projected returns. We had one project which is a learning experience, but we made money on it. We took ownership of it, unfortunately, because the borrower couldn't perform, and it was a great learning experience. But now we're managing 6 projects. We have about $14.5 million invested, and the projects are in DC, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Atlanta. So learned a lot. We're growing both with projects and developers we're partnering with, and then we're also growing on the investment services side for people that want to come in and join us as new investors. So it's really exciting.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. There's a lot in there. One, I thought it was really cool how you're like, oh, I'm just trying to solve a problem. And then I guess it's called syndication. So that's a really great way to kind of approach your business, of really trying to like solve a problem first and then realizing there's some, something else similar. So.
Well, you and I both know that you have to add value. You have to be able to provide a service, a product to your client base where you add value. Like, you're a wonderful broker. You do things in a way that are different and unique than other brokers and agents. So people kind of come to you as a subject matter expert and like what you do because you add value. My value from the development side is I can help bring money to these developers without them having to pick up the phone and raise $50,000, $25,000, $30,000. I can do that. I can raise a small group from smaller groups. I can bring in a collective large group of money, and it saves them time and effort. And so that's the value I add to them. And for my investors, I'm the liaison. I'm the go-to person that represents them, and I give them all of the details on the project. I work with the developers to take the information and feed it back to the investors. And the investors are really our VIPs. They're the ones that we want to make sure are comfortable, know what they, know everything about the projects, have all the information, and always be available to help them. And most importantly, to make sure that their returns are protected. So that's why when we look at deals, we want to look at the experience of the developer, the location, the numbers make sense, the terms make sense, the risk is low, and the big picture is the timelines make sense. So those are all the different things. And it's pretty exciting. It's a lot of fun, and we're a team. Everybody's a team. We want everybody to succeed, the developer and the sponsors. We want to succeed. We want to make money for our investors, and rinse and repeat and do it again and again and again.
Yeah. And so what I found interesting is like these are large, commercial projects. It's not just like residential real estate. You're in maybe like, $500 to $1 million or something like that. But these are really large projects. And for like a regular, investor, right, you may not have, like $20 million sitting around to invest in a huge project, but maybe you have some funds that you want to invest. And so coming to, somebody like you, John, to kind of aggregate all of that so that they can get into, start investing in more of those commercial developments. It's really the only way for somebody like smaller, right, to get started in this whole process.
No, it's a great point. That is a huge point on the investment side, because you can come in. For us, a minimum investment ranges from 25 to 50,000, totally optional at the investor level. We bring a deal forward from one of our partner developers. We do the due diligence. We vet it. We give it a thumbs up. We're still going through the process as we introduce it to the investors. The investors then, who are already on board with us, we don't go out and raise money typically on a deal-by-deal basis. We only go out to the investors that are with us. And so the investors get the chance to see it, ask us questions, go through their due diligence, and then really it's up to them whether they want to invest or not. They don't have to. But you're right, they can come in at a $25,000 to $50,000 level, be an owner in our entity that we set up for a specific project, in a deal that's a $3 million investment. Right. And like you said, some folks don't have that money, and we don't typically, we want to go to the folks that can come in, everyday folks that have a little bit of discretionary capital that's available, and they want to put it into something like this at a lower level and have the opportunity to participate. But I will say too, we do invest on smaller projects. We like the residential renovation. We could bring in $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 on a renovation project as an equity lender. And, those are great. 6 to 8 months, we're making 15 to 20% for our investors, and they're happy. The money is recycled and it's going in and out of those projects. And we can do the bigger ones, like you said, the commercial, mixed use, residential projects as well.
That's great. Yeah. Especially in these times, you got to be flexible, right? Where if there's a deal somewhere, then, just being able to figure out like how it all can come together.
Absolutely.
Smaller or bigger.
We have a very diversified portfolio. We have several different asset classes: opportunity zone, assisted living, residential fix and flip, student housing, ground up new development. So, multifamily hold. we don't want to just be, like you said, a one-trick pony. We want to be able to do multiple things so that if we get hit with a COVID-19, if we get hit with something that causes challenges within the industry, there's still things we can do that are within, our diversified portfolio.
Awesome. So, so for people who really don't know kind of more about like the syndication, how does this compare to like buying a rental and just getting passive income as a landlord?
Yeah. So if you're a landlord or you're owning property, you're actually going out and getting a bank loan, you're getting your debt lined up, whether it's recourse or non-recourse. You're going out and putting together the budget, you're going out and finding the property. So you're very active. You're the active person in the deal or the business. You have to go raise the funds, your oversight, management, operations, you're doing everything. With a syndicate, and you could do that as a syndication business too, where if you're the active component and you're raising money, then you're syndicating your deal. You're actually going out and raising money for your project, then you're an active syndicator. As a passive syndicator, we go out and identify those developers that we've grown a great strategic relationship with, a great partnership. We've done our due diligence on the companies. We know that they're a good fit for us. We add value for them. And after we go through a pretty rigorous process that we feel comfortable with them, we approve them for funding. And at that point, we're really in a position to start looking at their projects. And so then when they start sending us their projects, we're working with them on a deal by deal basis to see, okay, how is this one going to work? What's this customized? Where's the location? I have a checklist of items that we go through, my partner David and I. We do very thorough due diligence. And then once we're done and we kind of give them a thumbs up that we like the deal, we'll start going out to our investors to start raising the capital that we'd like to commit to on that project. And that's when we then go out to the investors. We'll go out and send a announcement, a project announcement. We'll let them know a little bit of the details. About 2 or 3 days later, maybe a week later, we'll go out with a summary of investments, which is a little bit more lengthier. And it's a document my partner and I build, which talks about the details, who the sponsor is, the location, the returns, the timeline, what we're going to do. And then I'm on the phone with my attorney up in New York to build our private placement memorandum, because we file our joint venture opportunities through a Securities and Exchange Commission filing. And so we sanction the projects, we go through, we have them filed. And once that documentation is done, then the formal package goes out to the investors. They get to see the 75-page private placement and all the associated documents. And then they get the chance to decide whether or not they want to invest on a project. So the major difference is you own the property, you got to do everything. With us, we're just one part of it, which is the money piece. We need to know about everything. We have to have accountability for everything as far as oversight, but that's ultimately the responsibility of the developer. The developer's going to go out and give a personal guarantee on the debt. The developer's going to go out and buy the property under an entity. We're just going to be part of the money piece. And so that's the big difference.
Awesome. Yeah, because I think a lot of people, when they talk about buy and hold and passive income, and buying rentals, right, they want that passive income. But as a landlord, passive isn't always as passive as you think it is.
That's
and
right.
So
exactly.
even, I feel like there's a couple different levels, right? You start out with, you buy and hold, but then you're looking at the deals, you're trying to figure out, how much rent you can get, you've got to get the loan, you still have to do all of that upfront work, and then you've got to rent it out and then manage it. That tenant's going to call you, so it's not quite as passive as people imagine.
No, you're absolutely right. And there's a lot more responsibility as the sponsor. Whereas with us, the biggest risk for us is that if something happens, a major correction in the market, and the bank comes in and revalues the property at a lower level that they did on the loan that they gave, our money could then be exposed. So the real risk, the worst thing in the world that could happen is we lose our money, but the bank won't come after us personally. We won't have any guarantees that we'll have to commit to. As a landlord, if you own that building and that happens, the bank can come after you personally if you have a recourse loan, which is very scary. And the investors could come after you too if you have investors in that project, if you're not managing it the right way. So yeah, a lot more risk in that. as opposed to someone that has a 9-to-5 job or owns a company and they have some capital and they want to invest in something like with us passively and still enjoy the benefits of a healthy return.
Right. Right. I think this is ideally for somebody that like it probably is not a full-time real estate investor, right? They're really busy with doing their own job, making the money, whatever they're maybe an attorney or they have their own business that they're running, but they want to get into real estate investing and, all the benefits of real estate without having to spend their time on it. They have money,
Absolutely.
but not necessarily time. And you're doing all the heavy lifting with like the due diligence and just making sure the projects are actually, viable, right?
Exactly. I couldn't say it any better.
That's awesome. So you mentioned something about being like an accredited investor. Can you just talk about what that means and how does somebody actually become an accredited investor?
Yeah, so the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, defines an accredited investor as an individual who earns $200,000 of adjusted gross income, the number at the top of your tax return before taxes are applied or before it reduces or gets higher. But the adjusted gross income is $200,000 over the last 2 consecutive years, with the understanding that it's going to remain at that level or exceed that level in the future. If you're married, it's $300,000. So $200,000 individual, $300,000 if you're married or filed jointly. Or you have a net worth of $1 million or more, not including your primary residence. So if you take all your assets and all your liabilities and you deduct it, if the number at the bottom is equal to or greater than $1 million, then you are considered an accredited investor. Now, there's other things too that if you own a business, if you're a revocable trust, if you have a limited liability corporation, there's great definitions. What I would recommend if you want to get into some more of those details is just to have your listeners go to the SEC website or just do a search on Google for accredited investor. And we actually have those different criteria on our accredited investor questionnaire. So typically when someone wants to become an investor with JID, we have an accredited investor questionnaire. It's about 8 pages, contact information. And then after that information, you'll have how you can qualify as either an individual, a business, a corporation. But those are really the parameters of an accredited investor defined by the SEC.
Okay, awesome. So so if somebody had more questions, they can either kind of look online or you also have a form that you have that kind of goes through what they need to do too.
Absolutely. We're happy to talk to them. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. Okay. Well, I am excited. I want to definitely leave time to talk to you about your newest development and your fund, this Opportunity Zone Fund. So yes, tell us more about it.
Yeah. So we're getting ready to embark on our first Opportunity Zone investment. It's really exciting. In the 2016 Jobs Act, Senator Tim Scott and Corey Patterson. Wait, I'm drawing a blank. New Jersey. Cory Booker, there you go. Cory Booker, New Jersey senator, bipartisan group came together and stood up the Opportunity Zone legislation. And for Opportunity Zones, each governor in every state and then in the district, they got together and they were told, hey, go out and identify property within your jurisdictions and states that would be considered Opportunity Zone. And they gave them these guidelines. And it's really designed to help lower income, affordable areas that are more, rural, not so much like cities, and areas that need to be regentrified, areas that are really lower income. And it's supposed to help grow those sections of the economies there. So they put together this plan, and each state has their Opportunity Zone property. Well, we're working with a developer in Washington, D.C. that's the largest landowner of Opportunity Zone property in the district. And we're actually investing with them right now at the site on a project with a non-Opportunity Zone investment, but that site is now going to be open for Opportunity Zone. So we have 2 properties that we're going to be identifying, and we're going to look to raise about $7.5 million through the Opportunity Zone Fund that we stood up. And basically the way it works is that if you have a business, a stock, an investment, something that you sell that has a realized gain, you could take up 1% of that gain or up to 100% of that gain, just the gain, and you can roll it into an Opportunity Zone fund. It's called a QOF, Qualified Opportunity Zone Fund. And so we're standing up a QOF. And so if anyone has gains, they can roll it into our QOF. And you have up to 6 months to identify a QOF to be able to bring the gain into. And once you bring your gain in, we will then take your capital and invest it into one of those two properties. And so the timeline is about 10 years minimum. And over the timeline, there will be milestones. So you won't have to pay any taxes on that invested gain until year 7 of this investment. And that's all part of the legislation. And in year 5 of the investment, there's going to be a reduction of 10% on the basis of that investment. So let's say you brought in $100,000 of deferred gains into our QOF to invest. In year 5, you're going to get a reduction of 10%. So you're now only having to pay capital gains on $90,000. So that's nice. And you won't have to pay the gain until year 7. So it's really exciting. And then after 10 years, anything you earn on that $100,000 investment is tax-free. So we're going to be in Southeast DC, 2 great sites. And again, we're looking at raising about $7.5 million, deferred gains only through accredited investors only. And it looks to be a wonderful opportunity. We'll have an executive summary out to folks that might be interested. Our investors will obviously get a full package and have the opportunity to invest with us on this great opportunity.
Awesome. So I think that there's a lot of stuff in there in terms of just being able to, like, just a lot of benefits, right? Of like the being able to defer your taxes, having a place where you can, put your gains somewhere else. I know a lot of real estate investors, at least, right? Maybe they're doing like a 1031 exchange, and maybe they can't find another project that they need to invest their gains into yet. And so this could be a great opportunity to invest the gains into something related to real estate. But what you also said was it doesn't have to be coming from real estate to real estate. It can be any type of gain that you can benefit from kind of getting into real estate after you sell that previous investment. Right?
That's correct. It's a wonderful tax sheltering and tax benefit option. I have investors that are looking at this as a way to pay for kids' colleges, or they're looking at it as a way, some of our older investors are saying, this could be part of my, estate that I can pass down to my children or my kids or my grandkids. So it's just a wonderful way to protect the gains that you earned, put it into real estate, be able to watch this thing grow. I mean, I could tell you our returns on this, you're looking at a 9 to 12% IRR, compounded annualized. So if you look at the return on investment, that ranges from 17% to 18.5% a year on your money. So at the 10-year point, you do the math on that, we're looking at a 2.4 to 3.1x equity multiplier. So you're going to be making anywhere from 140 to over 200% potentially of a return, which is wonderful. And we're happy to do that. And it's exciting. It really is. We'll have more details on that. And happy to talk more about this with folks. And this is the second fund that the developer we're working with is doing. They've already started a fund before this. So the experience, the insights of them doing this is wonderful. And we're just honored to be able to do this with them. We're really excited.
Yeah. So it sounds, it's like the best of both worlds, right? You get a really great return on your money, plus it's tax-free after 10 years. So
yeah. And I think I was telling you before too, when we spoke about it, is as we get these buildings done, we're going to have tenants coming in and they're going to be paying cash flow. And we may even be able to start paying out cash flow dividends sooner than the 10 years to still capture that inside of the Opportunity Zone investment, which will allow investors to pay some of those gains in year 7 from those cash flowing distributions. And we get double depreciation, which means we get to write off the depreciation. And since it's a tax-free investment, we don't have to reclaim that on the back end when we collect our proceeds. How amazing is that?
Yeah, yeah,
So it's really
definitely.
exciting. Yeah.
So two things that came up for me at least is so this is like a longer term investment. This is not something you should put like if you need money the next month and this is like your savings account. This is not your kind of
No.
investment, right? What kind
Yes,
of
you can't pull it out.
timeframes are you looking at, and how often does it pay out? Is it like real estate, like a rental where you pay out every month, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so obviously, this is an investment where we have land that has to be developed, the buildings have to be built, we have to do pre-leasing, we have to get tenants in there, get the model going on the cash flow. So that's where the timeline goes. So if you invest $100,000, you should plan on that 100,000 staying in the deal for at least a minimum of 10 to 11 years. You know, we won't be having a milestone where we pay out the returns. Like I mentioned, any cash flow distributions that may get paid out during the investment would be purely designed to pay the taxes in year 7. It will still be captured as part of the overall profits on how we structure our payouts to the investors. So we're looking at paying the investors an 8% preferred return as part of our waterfall or structure in our fund. And any distributions that are paid out would be part of that 8% preferred return. And that 8% preferred is yearly. So if it's a 10-year investment, 80% of your investment return would be based on that preferred return. And the way my partner David and I do it in our company is we don't pay ourselves any money until the investors get their pref. So in this case, if the investment, God forbid, only makes 8% a year, then we don't get paid. It all goes to the investors. But what we have projected right now, this thing's got the chance to make over 30% annualized a year on the returns. And that's deferred. It's all the way through the project, and it'll be paid out towards the back end. But if you look at DC, this location is phenomenal. For those who are local area folks, I mean, this is right across the water from Washington Nationals baseball stadium in Southeast DC. The other one of the two properties we have is over in St. Elizabeth's. It's 2 structures that are going up. One of the 2 structures is in the first fund, and it already has a tenant, 15-year triple net lease, which is like, wow. So we're really excited. We think this is going to be really a great opportunity, and we're excited about it.
Awesome. So if somebody's interested in this, what's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, so obviously our website it's brand new. We redid it. So www.JIDinvestments.com. Visit our website. We have some really good information there. You can fill out a contact form to get email to me. You can contact me directly. My email's jrubino, R-U-B as in boy, I-N-O, at JIDinvestments.com. I'm sure you're going to have some information in your show notes, but if someone wants to get a hold of me on LinkedIn, just look me up, John Rubino. But feel free to contact me. I talk quite a bit to several folks. I'm going to have a 1-page executive summary on this investment that talks about it, and folks can find out more and take a look. And I'm always available if they ever want to talk about it. It's going to be very exciting, and it's nice because it'll be open through December 31st of 2021. So if folks are getting to the point where they're like, well, let's see what happens with COVID, and hopefully I can get some gains out of stock maybe this summer, this fall, that's fine. We're going to have this thing open hopefully for at least another 18 months.
Yeah. Great. So it's not like something they have to necessarily like jump in right now, but maybe contact you for like more information, get the whole accredited thing done, and then they can make that decision of when's the right time for them to kind of jump into this if they're interested.
We don't ever want to pressure anyone into investing $1 with us. Our program is really set up in a way where people can learn about us, get to know us, see what we're doing, ask us a million questions, become investors with us, still not have to invest $1 and still see what we're doing. It's really not until they start seeing projects and want to participate on a specific opportunity where then they decide whether they want to invest or not. And that goes for the opportunity zone investment or any other opportunity that we have available for investment.
Awesome. Awesome,
Yeah.
John. Well, thank you so much for
Yeah, it's
coming
my
on today.
pleasure.
This is really,
Yeah.
really interesting. Definitely a different kind of side to real estate. So I learned a lot on this today.
Yeah. Thank you,
So
Peggy. I appreciate it. This was
great.
great. And I look forward to us keeping in touch. And if your listeners have any questions, hit me up anytime. Be happy to.
That sounds good. So I'll have all of John's contact information in the show notes below. And yes, feel free to reach out to him anytime. And yes, thanks for being on our show.
My pleasure, Peggy. Have a great day. Be safe.
You too. Thanks.
Thanks.